seem well watered and refreshed, we will move on to the next segment. For this, the Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Northern Advocate, have come up with a series of questions which they will pose to our candidates. Like all questions tonight, the draw will be random. We've got our ping pong balls, and the candidates, as they are drawn, a question will be addressed to them. So ladies and gentlemen, can you please welcome from the Northern Advocate, Craig and Tony Collins from the Chamber of Commerce.
As much as I like Tony, I'm Craig Cooper, he's Tony Collins. We're not Craig and Tony Collins.
Although we could be.
We get on fine, but... I think, Mike, we might still need you for this portion, if you don't mind, because you're going to select
Am I?
a candidate.
Normally I'm asked to change light bulbs and things like that with my height, so I'm glad I've got a real role to play tonight. I'll pull out numbers for you, eh?
You're going to select a candidate for us randomly, and I think Tony will ask one of 5 questions that a Chamber has surveyed the candidates on.
Yeah, we went out to our members and they came back with a whole range of questions, but basically they all boiled down to 5 general themes. So we're going to ask questions based on those. We've already received written answers from all the candidates on the whole 5 questions, and they'll be published in the Northern Advocate later in the week.
Crichton Christie. Please stand forward towards the microphone, Crichton. You'll be posed a question.
Kia ora, Crichton. Hey, a question to you is, how would the Council, under your leadership, establish an acceptable level of debt? Sorry, how would the Council, under Crichton's leadership, establish an acceptable level of debt?
Yes. Well, I know it's too high, but it comes down to the ratepayers what they can afford. Whangarei residents are one of the lowest income regions in New Zealand, with a high proportion of households that are on fixed income. So the debt burden is so it's important that the debt burden is. Now my speeches have completely gone. But the debt is far too high, as I said. Oh, now I'm all lost. So I've left my notes at home, unfortunately, but it will be they are in the paper. As I said, the debt is far too high, and we have to say, how do we bring it down? It is going to be actually very difficult because we've got to a situation that is actually going to be quite hard. At the moment, we're running a huge deficit. We're spending $20 million more than we actually earn. And that makes it very hard to crawl back, and it's going to take some time. It is going to take some very much discipline to get there. And unfortunately, it's not going to happen overnight. But I have a plan that we will actually make this economy grow, and as we get growing more, there will be more money available. But it's not going to be an easy solution.
Thanks. Thank you, Crichton.
Crichton, if you could just stay there. Craig.
Not that easy to get away, Crichton.
That's all right.
Clearly the debt is so large it's overwhelming, so you did well to get through that. Tony's a former police officer on my right here, so I'm going to put my trust in him and ask him to draw a number from 1 to 12. All the questions are from our readers and from Classic Hits listeners, and we'll ask the corresponding question, Crichton.
Number 9.
Question number 9. Forum North has served us well in the past. With the present size of our city and looking to the future, do you think the time has come to build a larger purpose-built centre for music and the performing arts to cater for our cultural needs and put us on the map for touring artists?
Most definitely. I've always promoted at least an 800 to 1,000 seat auditorium. This is what this city desperately requires. This hall also needs to be larger, and it's not that difficult. By squaring up this wall down there, you actually get 25% more increase in size. So those things are important. I actually voted for the auditorium for the swimming pool. So that's how I ranked it a long time ago, and it's still required. It is important, but all these things cost money, and it has to be planned, and we have to have a thing. So, as I said, it is important. Art is one of the most important things in Northland. Northland has the largest population of artists, far more than anywhere else in New Zealand. And so it's important that we cover the arts well. That's my answer.
Thank you, Crichton.
Thank you, Crichton. Our next candidate, Vince Cockerel, ladies and gentlemen.
Kia ora, Vince.
Hey, Tony.
What is council's role in fostering economic development?
What's council's role in fostering economic development? Whew. Well, let's see. They've got about 300 staff. They own loads of land around the district. So there's many reasons or many ways of a council can foster economic development. If you just talk about the staff alone, we just talk about 300 staff, that's 300 people who are shopping within the district, shopping within the community, making sure businesses stay going. On turn, if you talk about the land, we have several pockets of land around our district which are not being used at all and can be sold. This selling of the land can then be put into, how do I put it, community projects, back into the community, building a bigger forum north. Sure, these are all things that can be done, but economic development means stimulating the community and getting the community going through work. We've got, I keep coming back to it, our standard income or our median income in Whangarei is $22,500 per year. That's pretty tight. We need more people working. We need more people employed. To do that, we need more jobs. We need more development. We need to be building a minimum of 300 houses a year just to keep up with the growth. So these are things that we need to be doing, and council needs to be implementing and making sure it's going to happen, especially with the consent process. Thank you, Tony.
Cheers.
Thanks, Vince. Tony, if I could get you to oblige, please, and draw another number.
8. 8?
Question number 8, Vince.
I hope this is an easy one.
There are a lot of young people who are wandering around our streets. How do you propose to reach out and engage with them?
Younger people walking around our streets. I hope you're not talking about the truants. Any alleviation or just...
Young people wandering
Young
around
people.
the streets, and
Okay.
I think.
Young people. Okay. We've all been young once, haven't we? I hope so. When we were all younger, we all had things to do. And a lot of the things that are happening around our community is a lot of these young ones are finding it hard to find something to do. And yes, they are causing trouble. They are skipping school. These things need to be changed. Our community, by working together with our maraes and our community organisations, can get these young people working. One of the ways we're actually working with our Rotary Club is we're building these benches with working with the men's sheds, these seating units which have been put in around the community. There's a group of young people who have already volunteered their time to learn how to put these seats into the ground and fit them in. So this is one way of actually getting young people involved and actually getting them out working and doing things amongst their community, because young people actually want to help, they want to do things. The reason why they're causing problems is because they can't find anything to do. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, Vince. Our next candidate, Shelly Deeming, ladies and gentlemen.
Kia ora, Shelly. How would a council under your leadership foster a business-friendly environment?
A business-friendly environment. Just find the notes here. Initially by engaging with the business investors to discover what they need, and with the economic development entities that support productive business in our district. Chamber of Commerce, Whangarei Economic Development Group. We have a lot of business entities out there that need to collaborate, need to come together so that we get the strength of the whole to develop our community. Council's role, we need to provide a single desk for business development that is capable of delivering all of the advice and information that's required accurately and in a timely manner. Council does try to do that, but not always as successfully as we would wish. There are some improvements we could make. A business-friendly environment also requires adequate and reliable infrastructure, efficient and effective delivery of council services, including compliance and consent issues, and introduction by council to external sources of benefit to the investor. As the chair of the Environment Department and District Living, I cover the compliance and resource consent issues. And man, do I get a lot of inquiries about different challenges that people are facing out there. And I do recognise that there are a lot of challenges for developing business in our area, and we can do better, and we will do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Another number, Tony?
12.
I really wanted the theatre one. Right into that.
What is the difference between the Whangarei District Council and the Northern Regional Council?
Oh, the Northern Regional Council looks after the environment in particular, the air, the waterways. They have the compliance issues. Whangarei District Council is a land-based council. We have the infrastructure, looking after all of the land issues, the consent issues, the compliance issues. I think that answers that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you, Shelley Deeming. Our next candidate is Warwick Sires, ladies and gentlemen.
Kia ora, Warwick.
Kia ora.
My question for you is, are the council currently involved in any commercial activities that you feel they should not be involved in? And if so, how would you remedy that?
Got to find it. There have been recent changes to the purpose clause of local government. This council has reviewed its activities and believes that everything we do is compliant within the terms of the new purpose. The contracting out of regulatory services like building consents is no longer an option, and that is one which was always a gimme to contract out, which remains as a council function. I can't really see any compelling reason to hive off any of our present activities. Currently, there are 5 or so council-controlled organisations, and it's appropriate to keep them as either council-controlled organisations or council-controlled trading organisations. There's the airport, there's the event centre, there's Whangarei Art Museum, and a couple of others. One possible debatable area around the purpose is community grants. However, I know that the current councillors fully support these because those grants maintain the well-being of our communities, the assets of the communities, and encourage volunteer support. So the current team, at any rate, certainly don't believe we should be taking the knife to community grants. We believe that's an essential role of the council. Personally, I consider the council's got the level around these matters pretty right, and I don't believe any activities need to be axed.
Thanks.
Number 2. Warwick, what do you believe is the single most important issue in whangarei at present?
The single most important issue. Well, that's one out of left court, isn't it? Well, I guess let's pull it back to Whangarei District Council as a council issue. Our debt is a consequence of the demands of the ratepayers who demanded we fixed up the sewage spills into the harbour. Since 2008, we've spent 22 million tidying up those spills, and it's really appalling that they weren't tidied up earlier. We had a situation at Okara pump station. We basically had a big pipe going to a little pipe, and so every time there was a storm event, it went through the overflow pipe. So when I first came on council 6 years ago, that was dropped on us pretty heavily, and I hadn't heard too much about that prior to going on council. But understands leadership. We moved forward, we looked around, we remedied the situation, and in this last month, the UV treatment plant down at the treatment plant has been commissioned so we can now treat all stormwater spills. So that was one consequence. The other consequence of our debt was the 17 million that we've just spent on the bridge. When the National Government came into power, the country was suffering the meltdown from the global financial crisis, and Stephen Joyce came out to local bodies and said, if you've got any big projects up and ready to go, give them to us, we'll support them, because we need to get some money back into the communities to keep circulating money to keep things going. We picked that up. We had the bridge sort of within range in our eyesights. We picked it up, and in the chamber upstairs, the Mayor, myself and Kyle Sutherland met with Heatley and Joyce, and the deal was done and the bridge proceeded. Had it been 12 months later, we wouldn't have had that bridge, and we would never see it, certainly in my lifetime, and most of our lifetimes, because Christchurch has since subsumed all the government money. So, you know, that was 17 million. That's why our debt is where it is. And I still stand by the fact that the council would have been absolutely irresponsible not to have taken on those two roles and those two tasks. So where does our debt stand? We have this noise often put up about internal borrowings. Well, okay, if you add your internal borrowings to the 161 million we've got, that comes to $200 million. I was told earlier tonight, and I'm sure the person will shout out the figures if I've got them wrong, but Tauranga and Hamilton have $370 million worth of debt and something over $400 million worth of debt. We have external debt of $161 million. Furthermore, that was set at $130 million when Stan came in, and we were the first council in the country, I believe, to set two financial parameters. One was debt, and the other was that we were going to stay within CPI. This council we've currently got has moved to the cost price index, because so much of our expenditures around petroleum products with asphalt on the road that we had to have used that index so that we're recovering the costs of inflation that are affecting the council.
Warwick Sires, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Our next candidate, please welcome Glenn Chapman back to the stage.
Kia ora, Glenn. What single piece of infrastructure do you believe whangarei is lacking and that would stimulate economic growth?
Okay, well, some of the answers are a bit elaborate that we're having this evening, and I think really most of the people in the audience are beg your pardon, are what we'd call lay people, and that they may not have a knowledge of all the numbers and everything else, but conceptually they may get it. But in answer to the question, and I'm going to keep this real simple, I think there are several valid pieces to this puzzle. That said, I believe a rail link that incorporates the Marsden Point North Port into an existing rail network has significant potential to stimulate the economic growth of our region, simply put.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Glenn. Number 10 is your question. It's a slightly long question, I apologise, but
Okay.
it's a good one.
Slightly lower.
When a real estate agent sells a house and a buyer asks, is there anything I need to know? The agent has to disclose everything, including the negatives that he or she knows about the house. You are selling yourself to us. Is there anything we need to know? And what people may not know is that Glenn used to be a real estate agent.
Is there anything you need to know? Well, I said in my opening that I'm no bull and that I've got no preconceived or encumbrances. No, I think what you really need to know is actually a very positive thing, is that I'm passionate, okay? I am passionate about our community. And I want to inspire you to take that same passion and that we all move forward. So really, I think the only thing you really need to know is that I'm passionate. Okay? I'm passionate about everything I do. I'm passionate about music. I'm passionate about the arts. I'm passionate about our community. I'm passionate about our fellow man. Now, there's no secrets. And if there is, or there's things that you're curious about, you're more than welcome to communicate with me at any stage, and I'll give you a straight answer to a straight question.
Thank you, Glenn Chapman.
Thank you.
Our next candidate to speak is Stan Seminoff, ladies and gentlemen.
Kia ora, Stan.
Kia ora.
Hey, we're back to the start of these questions again. So my question to you is, how would a council under your leadership establish a acceptable level of debt?
Well, that's been well spoken on tonight. For a start, we'll try and cap it. And like we've done in the past in '89, right through the '90s under Yovich and Sumpton and Co and now Warwick, what's been happening is that we've been railing out too much, well, not too much in my thinking, but the cost of roading and of late the gymnastics, the athletics, all wonderful things. Prior councils, the swimming pools, the Sport Northland help, the stadium, the cricket, all those things. And we've come of age because back in '89 we set a 20-year vision, and we've done a 20-year plus. And I'm of the opinion now, apart from our new theatre and things like that, which I believe that we can get a lot of funding outside the rate-paying base, because what we're not good at, and before I was born, this has been a blue ribbon regional area, and unfortunately, and I don't want to get personal, but over the years, we have not had our fair share of the cake in regards to what should come north. And with Warwick and myself, we're pretty set the last year, and the help of my chairs, which have done a pretty good job, Shelly and Crichton and Co. We're well on the road to having, and I'm not lying about it, I had the geotech plans of the four laning from Puhoi to Wellsford in the Mayor's office on the carpet on the floor and going over them. Had I not been kicked out, I can tell you, the dozers would be in there by now. And this is what I talk about. We've got to get closer to government of the day. And if my cousin Shane, which we are cousins, another Tadada, should make the mark, we'll certainly cuddle up to him. And Helen Clark and I got on very, very well. And when my stance as deputy chair of the hospital, I made sure that my hospital in Kaitaia, where I was born, had a 14.8 million spend. So back to here with the debt, it's about prudent control. You see, if you spend something, you've got to give something away, otherwise it's got to come out of your pocket. And what we did, as I earlier said, the electricity department was a good electricity department, but there were some bureaucrats in it and some very good people. It's now in North Power's hands, and aren't they going, I think they're pretty well, aren't they? So out of that, we got a town base in roading. Now, yes, Crichton Co.
Cheers, thank you, Stan. Thanks, cheers.
We're going to have to... Out of fairness for all our candidates, Stan.
It's 20 years all this, ladies and gentlemen, so it'll probably take an hour to tell.
Oh, you've got another question.
Question number 5 for you, Stan. What would you do to lift the energy / mood / vibe of whangarei?
Let's explain that. It has 2 or 3 meanings to it. What's your meaning to it?
I think the question's open for your interpretation, Stan. What would you do to lift the energy, the mood or the vibe?
Well, I think I covered it by being a blue ribbon seat at the stage. We should be cuddling up the government to have a bigger spend in Northland to get that vibe. And, tourism is one that if we had a major attraction here, which would end up with a 4-star, 5-star hotel, that'd bring a lot of energy to the area. The rail to Auckland, if we can cuddle up to Len Brown and get some of the activity out the ports of Auckland, which they control, and get that track upgraded to Whangarei and the spur to the Marsden Point, and that would generate a lot. But my pet is 4-laning from Pohoi or Wellsford, which will happen, but from Wellsford to Whangarei, even if we leave out the Bryn Derwins for beauty and we can stop and go slowly over the hill, but do either end of it would be great, and that would create a lot of activity.
Thank you, Stan.
Thank you, Stan.
Stan Seminoff, ladies and gentlemen. Our next candidate is Warren Slater. Warren.
Kia ora, Warren. What is the council's role in fostering economic development?
I think council's got to be more user-friendly. I talk to a lot of people that have existing businesses who want to actually invest in town, and they actually set the hoops too high. I was recently involved with a submission process where a person that we know wanted to actually build a medical centre, have a neurological specialist centre, and it had to go through a process, and I agree there must be processes, but it went through this process where he wanted to spend his money on putting a feature into our district to benefit all of us, a neurological specialist centre. And I put a submission in, and I'm pleased I did. It finally was approved, and the main thing that came out of it was the building had to be a different colour to the existing medical centre. That cost him about $22,000 to $24,000. That's the sort of thing we've got to stop. We've got to be realistic when we're trying to develop the town. I think it's got to be easier for people. Another thing about that is also with leasehold land. People are not going to invest all their money upgrading a building that they may own the building but not the land that it's on. So we actually have to get back around the table and start discussing that with those leaseholders.
Thank you.
Question number 4 for you, Warren. Footpath and cycleway construction is funded in the long-term plan, but it often gets put off or reduced. Will you commit to funding these programs and implementing the council's walking and cycling strategy? So a small disclaimer, this comes from Aaron Edwards, an existing councillor but who is an outgoing councillor, so we were more than happy to take the question.
I think with the way fuel is in the world, I think we've got to look at these ways of moving people around, and the cycleway and footpaths is most important. 25%, I believe, of our people who live in Whangarei have disabilities of some sort. And the footpaths are important, and I've actually, in my presentation coming up in a couple of weeks at the Pachakacha night, I've got some photographs of some real things that have been done, I would say, stupidly. The footpaths, the cycleways, I mean, how can you really go down a road where a cycleway is that wide in safety? We've actually got to look at it. Yes, I'm more than happy, but firstly I need to know what our real debt is after the audit of the books, and then we can actually look at it, and we have to look at these basic infrastructure like our footpaths. I know there was $50 million worth of footpath repairs due to be done in 2010, and they had budgeted $1 million a year. So for the next 50 years we've got footpath repairs. I think we've really got to get back to some basic stuff.
Warren Slater, ladies and gentlemen. 5 candidates remain. Next up is Aisapu Samu, ladies and gentlemen.
Kia ora, Samu.
How's everybody going tonight? Must be getting tired sitting around.
So, Samu, our question to you is, how would a council under your leadership foster a business-friendly environment as opposed to economic development?
I think pretty much the other speakers have touched on a lot of things that the council could do better. But I want to point out something. It's not up to us up here or one person. It's up to the whole 13, 14 people that you're going to elect come October. So a lot of the questions, what if you get in? And I'm saying to you, the promises that are being made right now, none of us can deliver, because we'll have to convince the other 13 people to vote likewise. What I can comment on, though, I reckon the business community should be part of the review process for policies. They're the ones that are working it. They need to actually have input into what is going really, really well, what's like, I think one of the speakers was saying about the hoops that they have to jump through. Only then can we actually have some robust systems in place. And it comes down again to the people that you elect to put in there, so that the application of those systems is actually done in an open, transparent and democratically accountable way.
Thank you, Samu. We have a question from the Advocate and Classic Hits listeners.
Number 6 for you, Samu. Will you, if elected, take steps to change the voting method for councillors and the mayor from first past the post, or FPP, to single transferable vote, or STV?
Yes, probably. Thank you.
Good answer, thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Length doesn't matter, so I've been told. Next up, Stuart Bell, ladies and gentlemen.
Kia ora, Stuart. Question to you is, are the council currently involved in any commercial activities that you feel they should not be? And if so, how would you remedy it?
I don't believe they are. I don't know that they are. I guess if somebody out there thinks they are, then I'd like to know about it.
Thank you. Hi, Stuart. Lucky number 1. Do you see the mayoral role as a full-time position?
Oh, yeah. I think the mayor is the face of the community. He needs to be in the community. He needs to be working with the community. We're talking to business groups here, people with businesses and general public. I believe the mayor needs to do more than he has in the past. He needs to connect with the people, and he needs to explain what the council's doing to the people, so people understand what's happening, why they've got debt, if they need debt, and what the purpose of that is. So everybody's on the same page. I think there's too much dissent or angst, I said before. People are not liking the council and the way it's behaving, and that can't work.
Thank you, Stuart. Well, the Mayor may not be a male and may not be referred to as he. Cheryl Mai is our next candidate, ladies and gentlemen.
Kia ora, Cheryl. What single piece of infrastructure do you believe is lacking for Whangarei for economic growth?
That's such an important question. I believe it is the Marsden Point rail link. It's central to the growth of Whangarei district. There's huge resistance to any extension of the port in Auckland, and we need to capitalise on that, given that we've got one of the world's best deep water ports. It does require us to have an efficient rail link between here and Auckland. This could also, in time, be turned into an improved passenger and commuter line to and from our largest city and markets, making us a commuter suburb of Auckland. The land has been designated. We just need to, as I said before, beat the drum until we get it. Thank you.
Only 3 questions left. Cheryl, so would you like question 3, 7 or 11?
The money or the bag?
You get 2 questions.
I'll have 11, please.
Question number 11. How will you maintain positive relationships with local Māori? And what do you see the role of Mayor? What do you see the role of Mayor is in terms of ensuring obligations to the Treaty or Waitangi, or Treaty of Waitangi?
40% of our population are Māori. They're a very, very important and precious part of our community. I'm not Māori. I don't have a single drop of Māori blood in me, and I'm disappointed about that because I believe that that is something that does unite us all. I am firmly committed to speaking and holding dear the communication methods with Māori. I don't speak the language, and again, it's something that I would commit to do, to learn te reo. It's such an important part of our life. We have 2 languages in this country. English, actually we've got 3 recognised languages, English, te reo and sign language. As for the tiriti or waitangi, I think the principles of the tiriti are quite different to the treaty. And again, it's something that, to this point in time, I don't have a deep understanding, but I definitely have a commitment to learning about it. It's something that I believe all councillors should go to workshops and understand it completely. We're on the cusp of having the treaty settlements in Northland. There will be a tremendous amount of putia coming to the north, and that will empower a lot of Māori, and I trust that they will spend it wisely and invest in our community. We need to have strong relationships with all people, not just Māori, not just any sector of the community, across the whole spectrum. But I firmly commit to honouring the partnership that we have with Māori. Thank you.
Cheryl Mai, ladies and gentlemen. We're yet to hear from 2 candidates, and up next is Greg Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg.
Unlike the others, I don't have a written prepared speech.
Kia ora, Greg. And we're back to the start of the questions again. So our question to you is, how would a council under your leadership establish an acceptable level of debt?
Well, obviously our debt's too high. We need to cap what we're spending. We need to spend sensibly, and we need to spend on our core basic infrastructure. And when there's anything left, then go on to the nice frilly things. It's all very well having a dream. I'd love to be driving a BMW, but I can't afford it. I don't want to afford it. So we just need to get some common sense in there and some fiscal discipline, which is certainly what we haven't had in the last 6 years.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Hello, Greg. Would you like question number 3 or question number 7?
You pick.
Tony can pick for us. Former detective, you can always trust a former detective.
Yeah, we can't read though. Number 3.
Tony's our police supervision. This question is from WECAN, the Whangarei Environment and Climate Action Network, which is a youth-led movement taking action against climate change. And the question is, what could the council, or what should the council be doing to bring about a more eco-friendly whangarei?
Well, we just have to keep, the whole environment is what's critical. We've done the sewage, we're piping off the gas from our landfills, we're planting trees. There's not a lot else we can do.
Thank you, Greg Martin. Which means our final candidate, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, please welcome back Graham Chapman.
Kia ora, Graham. Hey, look, this is a really good question for you, being a business person yourself.
Thank you.
You know, as mayor and leading the council, what would you do to foster a business-friendly environment in Whangarei?
Well, yes, as a small business owner in the community, I think it's important that it makes sense to the community, whatever you put in place as council. I know as owning a small business, there are things that are expected of me that you'd think, if you're in the job and you're part of it, how do I do it? How am I supposed to? I've got other things to worry about, so I think it needs to include the business community more in it. I'd also like to see more initiatives taken by local businesses. Up in Kamo, where I am, it's a great community. We get together, we're planning the Santa Parade, we're hoping to do something really great. We also meet up regularly. I think it's up to us all as people individually to take onus. I chose this job because I feel a civic duty and responsibility, and I've felt that in everything I've done. I've never asked for a handout, I've never asked for help, I've opened up this cafe with no money. As I said, I've never had money. So, you know, when you can only dream, you've got nowhere else to go but up. So it's really bringing the community together. That's my focus.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Graham.
Thank you, sorry.
Hi, Graham. Final question from our readers and listeners at Classic Hits. Would you limit the number of terms that a councillor, a mayor or a CEO can spend in office? A suggested limit of 3 terms, 9 years, would be a good starting point, perhaps.
I know that America have their terms based on 2 for their presidency. I'm not sure with their Congress. I know that we're free to run, and I think anyone should be. I think the people that you elect must be aware that it is time for the change themselves. I don't believe in dictating certain rules and regulations. They won't apply to everyone. A great person can be in office for years, and someone who shouldn't be should be chosen by the people. As I said, in coming to all of this, I think it's down to the community themselves to make the conscious decision, which we all must do. You must choose the best person for the job, and they should have the ability to know when their time is up also.
Thank you, Graham.
Graham Chapman. Please keep your applause going for all our candidates, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you have learnt something tonight, but this isn't the conclusion yet. We will have another 2-minute spell so our candidates can refresh themselves. Then we will have our closing statements on why you should vote for them.